Where are we at in society today? Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Go ahead. Make my day.
Every single week, I put my freaking heart and soul into this. I don't go out there and laugh. It's not funny. It's not fun. Nothing's funny to me. I don't want to go out there and get embarrassed on Monday Night Football in front of everybody.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
So ain't nothing changed from yesterday. Still the same person I was yesterday, and I got the same thing for you that I had yesterday. You know why I'm here.
You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
Well, the Tigers had some wins yesterday, and I mean individually. And, of course, they got at least one win in the doubleheader. Welcome, everyone, on a Tullymore Thursday. Glad you're with us on X's and Bros throughout the state of Michigan. My name is Matt Shepard. Tigers and Nationals split a double dip on Wednesday. Detroit using a pair of three-run homers from Riley Green and a three-run shot from Jake Rogers and a solo blast from Spencer Torkelson. And they win the first one by opening up a can 11-2. Green already with 21 homers and 69 RBIs. Now, remember, last year, Riley Green had 24 homers, a career high for him. He's found the power. We've said time and time again, it takes a while for hitters to find the home run stroke, if you will, at the major league level. I don't know if that's the last thing to come, but it's one of those last things to come. And his 69 RBIs, by the way, are fourth in all of baseball, not the American League, in all of baseball. The only two players who are ahead of him in the American League are Cal Raleigh, who has 33 bombs and 71 RBIs, and Aaron Judge, who's got 70 runs driven in. In fact, Riley Green has the 21 home runs that we had mentioned, and he's got more than the guy so many people wanted in the offseason, if you recall. Pete Alonso with 18 home runs. In addition to that, Green has as many doubles as Aaron Judge does. So he's not Aaron Judge. We know that, all right? Aaron Judge has got a better arm. I think he's a pretty good fielder. I think Riley Green's a very good fielder. Riley Green's not going to match him in home runs probably, and most likely won't match him in RBIs. But oftentimes when you talk about certain players, everybody else wants to know the comparison. So I'm giving you the comparison. Has as many doubles as Judge, has 2 fewer RBIs than Judge, and has 21 home runs. Aaron Judge with 31. Judge is seen as a home run hitter. And actually, I think it's probably mislabeled. He's a really good hitter. Riley Green's a pretty damn good hitter too. All right? When you look at Riley Green and you see that here's a guy on average hitting close to 300. He's at 296 right now. To be in that power surge of a group, if I said to you who leads the league in all of baseball, who leads the league in RBIs, Seiya Suzuki is the answer with 73. And then it's Raleigh, Judge, Green, and the guy many people feel like Detroit should trade for, Eugenio Suarez. They each have 69 runs driven in. It's another reason why he'd be a good fit in Detroit. Anyway, so Detroit won the first game. Washington took the nightcap 9-4. They scored 6 runs in the 8th. Nathaniel Lowe went 3 for 4 RBIs. Josh Bell had 3 runs driven in. The series wrap-up is tonight. Dietrich Enns, great story, will throw against Jake Irvin. Clayton Kershaw, in case you missed it in baseball last night, Clayton Kershaw struck out 3 in the Dodgers' 1-run win over the White Sox. He didn't get the win. Freddie Freeman had the game-winning RBI. But Kershaw struck out 3, giving him 3,000 in his career. So he's the 20th pitcher all time to strike out at least 3,000 hitters. He's the third active pitcher to strike out 3,000 hitters. Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer. And he's the fourth lefty all time to strike out 3,000 hitters. Who are the others? Randy Johnson, number 2 all time. Steve Carlton and CC Sabathia. Those are the only other 3 lefties who have boasted at least 3,000 strikeouts. It's one of those damn moments because I kind of wished Nicky Lolich had gotten there. Lolich at 2,832 in his career. That would have been a lot of fun to be able to celebrate that. Anyway, 3,000 strikeouts is pretty damn impressive. I've said this ad nauseum. People who've listened to the show for a long time so have heard me say it. One of the most untouchable records. I love talking about records that will never be broken because there's so many. And oftentimes we overlook too many. Nolan Ryan's strikeout record is one of those. And Randy Johnson is second. And Randy Johnson was a dominant pitcher. You and I both know that. He's like 950 away from Nolan Ryan. Now think about that. You get 300 strikeouts in a season. That's impressive. And it doesn't happen very often. You get 300 strikeouts in a season. So think about that for a minute. If you're Randy Johnson and you're looking at it back when you were pitching and people were trying to gauge whether or not you were going to pass Nolan Ryan, you would need a minimum of 3 more seasons of at least 300 strikeouts. Randy Johnson, even in his prime, only did that 5 times. It's pretty tough. Really tough. Came close a few other times, 290, 296. But overall, you'd have to do that at least 3 more times. 3 more times, you'd still be short. So the most strikeouts he ever had in a single season were 364, which is mind-blowing in 1999. But you basically have to have pretty close to 3 of your most elite seasons. That's one of the years he won the first of 4 straight Cy Youngs and his second of 5 overall, Randy Johnson. As dominant a pitcher perhaps in my lifetime as I've seen. But that's how far away he is from Nolan Ryan. And Nolan Ryan, by the way, never won a Cy Young, which seems to be a little crazy. It did get me wondering just a little bit because I'm probably a lot like you, thinking what? Well, if Clayton Kershaw could do it, why wouldn't Tarek Skubal be able to do it? As a lefty, I mentioned the 4 lefties all time to have boasted 3,000 strikeouts. And my thought was, Tarek Skubal, for as many guys as he picks up and sets down, I could see eventually him getting there. He's got 784 strikeouts. He's a dominant pitcher. No question about it. The most strikeouts he's ever had was last year with 228. He's going to surpass that this year. In all likelihood, he'll surpass that this year. He leads baseball in strikeouts with 138. So 90 more, and he's equals last year. But think about that for just a moment. Skubal's been in baseball for 6 years. How long he wants to play is up to him. How long he can stay healthy remains to be seen. But the most dominant pitcher in baseball today has a career high of 238. He hasn't reached 800 strikeouts. These guys are at 3,000. Can he do it? Yeah, because of his dominance, his arm. But he's got to pitch a long time, just like Kershaw's pitched a long time. The stamina is unbelievable by some of these guys and their ability to stay as sharp as they have. Plenty more to get to in the update. Plenty more to talk about throughout the morning on a Tullymore Thursday. Glad you're with us here on X's and Bros, and we're brought to you by MitchLionsWealth.com.
Huge here for my good friend Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Together with Garvey's family and friends, they are all stepping up to help change the course for children Now, the annual golf outing for Family Promise of West Michigan will be on September 8th at the beautiful Thousand Oaks Golf Course on the north side of GR. And you can join Josh, his family, and Dorn Mayhew Grand Rapids in their quest to end homelessness one family at a time. They're looking for sponsors. They're looking for foursomes. If you want to be a part of it, it's simple and easy. Go to familypromisewm.org. That's familypromisewm.org. They're looking for sponsors, foursomes. The event is coming up in September on the 8th at Thousand Oaks. You can be a part of it today and help families find a home. Go to familypromisewm.org. That's familypromisewm.org.
The Buy 5, Save 5 deals at Meijer are a great way to stock up on all your 4th of July celebration supplies. Buy 5 or more and save $5 or more when you mix or match hundreds of items, like 24 packs of select Coca-Cola and Pepsi products, plus deposit where applicable. Oscar Mayer Classic Beef Franks, Kraft Shredded or Chunk Cheese, Dole Chopped or Premium Salad Kits, and Dixie Family Pack plates, bowls, or hot cups. The Buy 5, Save 5 deals at Meijer. That's the good life. A good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Wednesday, August 13th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, Steve Miller Band. With special guest Kenny Wayne Shepard. Showtime 7 p.m. for Steve Miller Band's only Michigan appearance. Tickets on sale now, starting at $29 at the box office or online at etix.com. Steve Miller Band and Kenny Wayne Shepard, part of the Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series, August 13th. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Back with you on X's and Bros on this Tullymore Thursday. Check out TullymoreGolf.com for the latest in Tullymore and St. Ives and the gorgeous facility that it is. The wonderful people who run it, led by Matt Golden. Love that place, and I will be up at that place next week sometime. We were talking just before the break about the Tigers and Nationals, and then Clayton Kershaw with a 3,000th strikeout, beating the White Sox last night, and the number of players who are there, putting that in perspective of just how far a guy and no one's suggesting that he should be there anytime soon, but Tarek Skubal, at this rate, will he get there? It's a really good question because so much depends on health, and Kershaw's been injured quite a bit. I mean, you'd say he's one of. It's a good question here. Is he one of the best pitchers of our era, our lifetime? Early on, dominant pitcher, right? Like Tarek Skubal. When Clayton Kershaw took the mound, everybody thought the Dodgers were going to win. When Clayton Kershaw took the mound, you felt like you had a legitimate chance at a no-hitter. He's won a Triple Crown. He's won 3 Cy Youngs. He's won 5 ERA titles. He's a 10-time All-Star. He's a really good fielder at his position. Okay. Led the league in strikeouts 3 times. Had 300 strikeouts in a season once. I'm not saying that's the be-all, end-all for a pitcher. We're talking about dominance. We're talking about strikeouts. ERA titles, 20 or more wins twice, which might surprise you. I thought it was more than that. I thought he won more than 20 games, more than twice. But he led the league 3 times in victories. Twice he has led the league with 20 wins or more, 21 in a couple of different occasions. But only once has he surpassed 300 strikeouts in a single season, which is pretty interesting, considering if you measure it, maybe not always fair, because he's the all-time, but there are certain goals people may have. There are certain people who have set a standard for strikeout pitchers anyway. Nolan Ryan is that standard. He struck out 30 or more 3 consecutive seasons, was hurt, came back, struck out 30 or more 2 consecutive seasons. And then later on in his career, at the age of 42, struck out 301 batters. That's impressive. Tigers have 3 starters in the All-Star game. Didn't see this coming, and I don't think you did either. But you made it happen, part of it. In 2 weeks, on July 15th, in Atlanta, Detroit will have Riley Green in left and Javier Baez in center. That's an assumption on my part. Aaron Judge will probably play right field, right? Okay. Riley Green, Javier Baez are starters in the American League outfield. The last time that happened for a Tigers team, and I have to check myself on this because I always talk about how Detroit's a rich tradition. It's incredible. The richest tradition of any of the teams in Detroit is the Red Wings. You'd have a hard time fighting that, I believe. The last time Detroit had 2 outfielders start in the All-Star game was 1976. It was Ron LaFleur and Rusty Staub. Would you ever have guessed that? Probably not. I mean, Rusty Staub, I'm telling you right now, Trent with his eyes closed, blindfolded or eyes closed, after he drank 5 or 6 beers, running backwards uphill, could beat Rusty Staub in a race. But the dude could hit. It is quite ironic that it's those two, considering just how different those 2 players were from one another. It's amazing because Ron LaFleur was a base stealer. He was a threat. I know. Here comes the joke. Ready? And insert prison joke. Okay. For Ron LaFleur. But he was exciting on the base pass. It was awesome. It really was. It was Ron LaFleur who led off the game, by the way. Ironically enough, Sparky Anderson, who would later become the Tigers manager, was the manager of the National League. Ron LaFleur was in left field. Rod Carew was at first base. George Brett was at third base. Thurman Munson, the captain of the Yankees, was behind the dish. Fred Lynn of the Red Sox was in center field. Toby Harrell was at shortstop, which surprised me because he was a third baseman with Texas. Rusty Staub was in right field. Bobby Grich was at second. And guess who started? Mark Fidrich. That's what you're going to see. In Atlanta in a couple of weeks, you'll see Green in left, Baez in center, Tarek Skubal on the mound. The difference in 1976 and the difference today is Detroit has a starting second baseman as well in Gleyber Torres. So good for him. It's his third All-Star game. It's his first as a Tiger, obviously. It's his first year. He's the first Tiger second baseman since Placido Polanco to start there. And this one surprised me. Just the fourth ever. Charlie Gehringer, Lou Whitaker, Placido.
All right, X's and Bros. Looks like we lost Shep for a second. We will work on that. Technical difficulties. Going to send it to break a little early here, but thanks for listening here on a Tully Moore Thursday.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the upcoming Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to be launching the center in Farmington Hills this fall. It will provide exercise, therapy, and educational programs that will help the Parkinson's community. Just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality of their clients' retirements, this center will help improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center will be available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right. Absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and the caregiver.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center will make in the fight against Parkinson's.
Since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center will encourage others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Hey, this is Matt Shepard. You know, I've been pretty fortunate throughout my broadcast career to get to know some really special athletes. There's one guy in particular, and I know you know who he is because he won 2 world championships, including one with the Pistons. Lindsey Hunter. Great player, but an even better human being. There's a lot of athletes out there who talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. Lindsey Hunter does just that. He gives back to kids of all ages through the Lindsey Hunter Foundation. Now, I could talk all day about this guy because he is grade A, level 1, but I want you to hear from him yourself.
Thanks, Shep. I'm excited to have you help us get the word out about our foundation. Our mission is to help support underserved youth in Michigan, as well as help them achieve all of their dreams. We're empowering our youth through basketball. Please take the first step to get involved in our upcoming camps and community events. We've got a camp coming up in Sparta, and I'm asking listeners to please consider signing your kids up or even sponsoring the kids for the camp. Here's how to sign up for the camp.
Visit the LindseyHunterFoundation.org. That's the LindseyHunterFoundation.org.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
Wednesday, August 13th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, Steve Miller Band. With special guest Kenny Wayne Shepard.
I hit a wall.
For Steve Miller Band's only Michigan appearance. Tickets on sale now.
You're ready for tomorrow?
$29 at the box office or online at etix.com. Steve Miller Band and Kenny Wayne Shepard, part of the Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series, August 13th.
Don't find 3 times.
SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Find
The Buy 5 Save
Yeah, I was
5
gonna say
deals at
about 4 or
Meijer are a
5,
great way to
'cause you
stock
may
up on
not
all your
get,
4th of July celebration
especially at
supplies.
the
Buy
35.
5 or more,
Find
save
2 for the
$5
35.
more
You'll
when
be
you
able to
mix your
find
hundreds
the
of
first
items,
2.
like
Like,
24 packs of
I
select
started talking
Coca-Cola and
about,
Pepsi products, plus deposit where applicable. Oscar Mayer Classic Beef Franks, Kraft Shredded or
Riley
Chunk
Green, the
Cheese,
home
Cold
runs and the
Chopped or
RBIs
Premium
and Graham
Salad
Elder.
Kits, and
Suddenly
Dixie
I'm
Family
through the
Pack
first
plates,
segment.
bowls, or hot
And that's
cups.
not,
The Buy 5 Save 5 deals at Meijer. That's the good life. A good deal better.
I think most
Exclusions
people would
apply.
find
See all deals in the Meijer
okay.
app.
What's up,
But they may not
Michigan?
know.
You're
Oh, God, I
listening to
didn't know
my
it was
good
Tuesday.
friend Shep. The huge show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
I could help
Soar
you.
to new heights of winning with Eagle Casino and Sports. Enjoy your favorite games wherever you are, whether at home or on the go. Dive into exciting slots, spin the roulette wheel, or challenge yourself with virtual table games, all at your fingertips. Sign up now and opt in to receive a deposit match up to $1,500 for the casino, plus up to 100 free spins. Download the Eagle Casino and Sports app today and experience winning with just a tap. Go you! Must be located in Michigan and 21 years or older. Other conditions apply. Visit playeagle.com to join the action. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You know, you could start with July 4th traditions if you wanted. What you're going to do tomorrow, you know, what do people do? Yeah, that's fine. Back with you on a Tullymore Thursday. Thanks for joining us on this 3rd of July. Hope you have a great holiday coming up. How important are all-star nods, do you think? I think they're really important for players. I mean, oftentimes they will have them in their contracts where they get a little extra money. The starters were announced yesterday, and how people, what people use as criteria is up to the individual. Is it the best all-around catcher who has a great pop time, caught steals, home runs, averages? Most people, I think this is a fair assessment, most people look at the offensive side of things. Okay. It would be great to have, so for example, if you're a catcher, it'd be great to have JT Realmuto in his prime. Excellent hitter, excellent fielder, incredible pop time. He's the ideal candidate. I know you could go back to Pudge Rodriguez. I get it. All right. But there are plenty of defensive first catchers in the history of the sport. You like the combination. Yadier Molina is a really good example of that. Carlton Fisk is a really good example of that. Johnny Bench was a really good example of that. Yogi Berra, Roy Campanella. We could go on. Thurman Munson. These guys were all excellent defenders and very productive offensive-wise. Will Smith is like that with the Dodgers right now, and he's going to start for the National League, one of 3 Dodgers to start. Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani are the others. So the Tigers and Dodgers each have 3 starters. Cal Raleigh will start for the American League at the catcher position. And let's face it, it's because of the 33 home runs. He's having, on pace anyway, one of the best catching seasons of all time in terms of home runs. And he's the first Mariners catcher to start an all-star game. Pretty interesting. I should have mentioned Salvador Perez. He's a pretty good example of that too, don't you think, for a catcher? Yeah. Raleigh so far, 84 games, 33 bombs. He might break the all-time record for home runs as a catcher. And his WAR, wins above replacement, right now is 5.6. That's incredible. He's only second to Aaron Judge. So he's your starter behind the dish. Then the debate becomes, what about first base? So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The reason I bring this up is because I wonder what people use as their criteria. Is it average? It can't be average. Otherwise, Jonathan Aranda would be there for Tampa. So, and you're probably right now going, who the hell is that? Yeah. Name, right? Am I wrong? I mean, I think so.
No, that's what my thought was.
Yeah. He leads all first basemen. He even leads Freddie Freeman in average, believe it or not. But it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It probably should be Paul Goldschmidt, but it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. who makes his 4th start. Who could have been the guy instead of Gleyber Torres? Well, he beat out Jackson Holiday. This is why a lot of times where I'm going with this is the popularity contest. I recognize that name. Boop. Let me put it down. You're not, I mean, in the National League, you're not immediately thinking Brendan Donovan, are you? I don't think so. Nicker Horner for the Cubs, perhaps. I don't know. Tigers are playing Luis Garcia in Washington. That's a possibility. Bryson Stott for the Phils. Jackson Holiday, Gleyber Torres, those are the names in the American League. And Torres is deserving of it. I think that one of the coolest stories is the fact that Jacob Wilson, who is in his first full season, batting .339, second in the majors, behind Judge at .359. He's going to start and is the first A shortstop to start the All-Star game since that son of a blank Bert Campaneris, who was a dominant player with a dominant, I shouldn't say dominant player. He played for a dominant team in the early 70s, early to mid 70s. You know, that Oakland A's team that won 3 championships. Gene Tennis was behind the plate. You had Sal Bando a lot of times at third. Joe Rudy was out there. Reggie Jackson was part of that early in his career. All right. Really good team there. Vita Blue, Moon Blue Odom, Raleigh Fingers, Ken Holtzman, those guys. I know. So Jacob Wilson gets the call. And Trent, you know me, who's one of my favorite players in baseball. Doesn't matter the position, doesn't matter the team, doesn't matter the league. Who's one of my favorite players? Bobby Witt Jr. He's cooled off. But the dude's still batting 290. He is second. He is first in doubles with 30. He's got 11 bombs. He's driven in 45. Those are the things I started saying to myself to try and convince myself he should be. Jeremy Pena should have been there. The dude has helped lead Houston. He's the guy in Houston right now. I mean, he's hurt, but he's the guy in Houston. He's the reason Houston is nipping at the proverbial heels of the Tigers for best record in the American League. But instead, it's Jacob Wilson, which I think is a great story. Third base is Jose Ramirez, one of the most underrated players in baseball. The guy who is the designated hitter has been rumored to be on the trading block. Ryan O'Hearn, who Kansas City gave up on, and you can understand why, because of his career there in Kansas City. He's going to start as the designated hitter, and then you have the outfielders, as I mentioned. National League is Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Ketel Marte's at second base, really good player. Francisco Lindor, who was moved down from the leadoff spot in the Mets game yesterday and promptly hit a home run. Where was he in the order? I forget exactly where he was in the order. Also hit an RBI down the left field line. Manny Machado at third base, Shohei Ohtani, Ronald Acuna, Pete Crow Armstrong, who's been outstanding. Ohtani, by the way, is the DH. But you've got Acuna, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Kyle Tucker in the outfield. The surprising thing for me is that Kyle Tucker is an all-star for the first time, obviously, in the National League, but three times in the American League. That dude is so good. In fact, he and Pete Crow Armstrong with a 4 WAR right now. That's above all-star status. All-star status about 2.5. Okay. 4 WAR is borderline great for a season. Those are your all-star starters. And the reserves will be announced later on today. It's so cool that we are living in a time right now. This is the most Detroit has had since 2007. Living in a time and where the Tigers are, maybe I shouldn't be too surprised, but they're getting noticed. Like you and I talk about this all the time. We talk about how good Riley Green is. I think you can admit that. He truly is one of the better all-around players. I know how you feel about his running. Who cares, man? I mean, does he get from A to B? You and I are playing golf. It's a par 3. You use a 9-iron. I use a 7. Who cares? I'm still on the green, right? It's a fantasy of mine, getting on the green. But yeah, Riley Green, he gets from A to B. He's not going to win sprinting contests. And there's not one gym teacher in America, if they still teach gym, that actually goes out there and says, this is how I want you to run. All right. No track coach is going to say, this is how I want you to run. But you know what? Baseball coaches out there, look at the bat path. Look at how he can go the opposite way. Look at his power. He had 2 3-run homers in the first game yesterday, was robbed of a third homer for the series in the second game. Thing was over the wall. Unbelievable catch. One of the better catches all season long. So, as a baseball coach, you want your guys to get a jump on the ball like that in left field, dive when you have to dive, time the diving properly, get behind the ball. The little things that Riley Green does. AJ Hinch had something to say about the Tigers game yesterday. Here it is.
He's Riley Green. So there's these little bursts of huge performance like we've seen. There's, very rare downturns. And he's a guy who brings it every day. He wants to be good. He pushes himself to be good. He and Glaber are arguably the two players on this team that never get a break. And so he faces the toughest matchups in the biggest moments in the middle of our order and continues to get a good pitch to hit. When he does that, he's really developing into an incredible major league player. And he's getting some recognition, obviously, through the All-Star game last year, playoff run last year, and now being a center part of a good team tells you a lot about Riley Green.
That's a really good soundbite from AJ Hinch. Good stuff there from Trent Valley getting that in, and right on. All right. I mean, I wouldn't say he wants to be good. He wants to be great. Whether or not he reaches that status, we'll label people that. How many times do you have to be an all-star? All these things. There's plenty of guys out there who have been great players and not enough recognition for them. Bill Freehand's a good example of that. That's a long time ago. I get it, but still, he wants to be great. As a left fielder, maybe as an entire outfielder, maybe we need to look at it from an entire outfield perspective rather than just left field. We just mentioned some of the all-stars. Like I've always liked, this, listening to the show, loved Kyle Tucker for a long time. Loved him in Houston. Thought he's a fantastic player. But if I said to you the best left fielders in baseball, who would be in that conversation? James Woods has been unbelievable for Washington. Okay. I don't think it's close. I don't think it's even close. Stephen Kwan, but he doesn't have the power. You could say this, but ... So you can't say that with Riley Green unless you're talking about stolen bases. Stephen Kwan has stolen bases, doesn't have the power, has the equal glove. Okay. Because Stephen Kwan has, 11 stolen bases. Randy Arozarena has the most by a left fielder. Jaron Duran, Christian Yelich. Yelich with a big ball yesterday from Milwaukee in a loss. But I'll take Riley Green every single day, and I think most people would. When you start to spread it out to right field and center fields, then perhaps you get into a bit of a quandary. And it's tough for me to suggest, okay, he's better than X player, okay? Pete Crow Armstrong is having he's having an MVP-like season. He really is. Because that dude does it all. But just remember this. There are plenty of guys who, quote unquote, can do it all. Byron Buxton, Luis Robert, have the 5 tools, but sometimes can't stay healthy. Luis Robert injured again, right? Byron Buxton seemingly constantly injured. Riley Green, for the most part, healthy last year. For the most part, healthy so far this year. But we hold that against him. We hold the fact that he hasn't played 162 games. Why not? Damn it. We have a tendency to do that. Right field's a little more challenging because of Tucker, because of Judge, because of Springer in the past, Juan Soto, who, I don't think is a very good fielder at all. My point is, Riley Green's in that discussion. It's a really good soundbite by AJ Hinch, who's seen plenty of his really good, outstanding players on who he's managed. And Riley Green, at some point within the next couple of years, if he continues at this moment, will be in that type of conversation for AJ Hinch when he goes back and he talks about reverently about Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman and Carlos Correa and George Springer, those guys primarily who led him to a championship. That's what eventually he's going to discuss that. It doesn't surprise me with Green. It's hard to ignore Gleyber Torres. The Baez All-Star selection is the one that surprised the hell out of me. Like, if he gets picked because of the season he's had, that's, you can play him in a lot of different places. He's voted as a starter in center field. That's incredible for what he's been able to do.
What a story.
Isn't it an unbelievable? It's one of, so the first half of the season, Trent, we look at the Tigers' first half of the season. Besides the obvious, they got the most wins in the American League. They got the second best run differential. They have the largest lead of any division leader. All those things. What's the number one story from the Tigers in the first half of the season? I could argue power, okay? Their power numbers are way up. We could continue to grab the low-hanging fruit, although it is very appropriate in Tarek Skubal. Winning 10 straight games it's not fair for me to say low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I mean, when a guy has the inside track on a Cy Young, that's of course that's going to be
another
one
triple
of the top.
crown. Yeah, possibly another triple crown.
Right.
The acquisition of Gleyber Torres could be. I think it's Javier Baez.
I think it is too, especially given the fact that what this team did last season at the end of the season, and into the playoff run, he wasn't there
without him. Right. Absolutely.
And now that he's back and he's having a career year.
It is hard to flip an entire fan base. He's done that for a first half of the season. He has forced you to acknowledge, yes, I wanted him gone. And it's not fair on any fan to say that you were wrong because you're not yet. When you have the sample size that you had, but now that he's healthy, okay, it's hard to flip people. And then suddenly they're like, yeah, I mean, I want him. I want him in the lineup on a regular basis.
And Shep, you want him because he's good. And that's what plays to our old cliche that you and I always bring up of, I want guys that want to be here.
Yeah.
No, you want good players. And Javier Baez is producing right now.
I want players who let you or help you win. I don't give a crap what conference they're from. I don't give a crap when they were drafted. I don't give a crap what team they played for. I don't give a crap what they said about your team in the past. What I care about is, can you perform on the field? The other things, granted, you want them to represent your city. You want them to represent your organization. All that is almost understood. Okay? I don't want some jackass out there getting in trouble on a regular basis with the law. However, the most important thing is, besides the obvious, is he going to help my team win? Javier Baez is helping this team win. I'm trying to think of a better storyline for this team this season. Perhaps it's Casey Mize. The two almost are linked in that regard. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. The text line is Sports Radio 21,000. We're brought to you by MitchLyonsWealth.com on a Tullymore Thursday. Thanks for joining us.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Hey, this is Matt Shepard. I've been pretty fortunate throughout my broadcast career to get to know some really special athletes. There's one guy in particular, and I know you know who he is because he won 2 world championships, including one with the Pistons, Lindsey Hunter. Great player, but an even better human being. There's a lot of athletes out there who talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. Lindsey Hunter does just that. He gives back to kids of all ages through the Lindsey Hunter Foundation. Now, I could talk all day about this guy because he is grade A, level 1, but I want you to hear from him yourself.
Thanks, Shep. I'm excited to have you help us get the word out about our foundation. Our mission is to help support underserved youth in Michigan, as well as help them achieve all of their dreams. We're empowering our youth through basketball. Please take the first step to get involved in our upcoming camps and community events. We've got a camp coming up in Sparta, and I'm asking listeners to please consider signing your kids up or even sponsoring a kid for the camp. Here's how to sign up for the camp.
Visit the LindseyHunterFoundation.org. That's the LindseyHunterFoundation.org.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the upcoming Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to be launching the center in Farmington Hills this fall. It will provide exercise, therapy, and educational programs that will help the Parkinson's community. Just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality of their clients' retirements, this center will help improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center will be available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right. Absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and the caregiver.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center will make in the fight against Parkinson's.
Since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center will encourage others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Wednesday, August 13th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, Steve Miller Band. With special guest Kenny Wayne Shepard. Showtime 7 p.m. for Steve Miller Band's only Michigan appearance. Tickets on sale now, starting at $29 at the box office or online at etix.com. Steve Miller Band and Kenny Wayne Shepard, part of the Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series, August 13th. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
Back with you on this July 3rd on a Tullymore Thursday. Thanks for joining us here on X's and Bros, wherever it is you may be listening or streaming us live. We appreciate it. As always, hope you have big plans for the weekend and an exciting weekend as well. Tigers split with the Nationals yesterday. Detroit took the first game. No problem for Riley Green. Took a pair of two 3-run homers, which is redundant. Two 3-run homers. Torkelson and Rogers also leave the yard. 11-2 was the final, and then Washington won the nightcap 9-4. Tigers have 3 starters in the All-Star game. Tarek Skubal expected to be the starting pitcher. I don't think any of them from the bullpen will be there, but you'll have Gleyber Torres at second base, Javier Baez in center, and Riley Green in left. Red Wings signed Mason Appleton to a 2-year deal worth about $2.9 million. The Mitch Lions wealth poll question of the day: which Tiger is most deserving of his All-Star nod? Riley Green, Gleyber Torres, or Javier Baez? Vote as often as you wish at XB Mornings, and the results come your way. Trent Balley's going to host 6 to 7 tomorrow, and then we've got a best of. So excited for Trent. Perhaps he can give you those results tomorrow morning in the 6 o'clock hour.
Certainly will.
Which would be fantastic. Look, there's a little bit. I don't even think it's a little. I think it's a misconception. We use the word trust and change and a lot of things like that on this show quite a bit because I think it's real. I do think it's really hard for us to change. It's hard for me to look at Gleyber Torres and say, wow, I mean, dude, I was wrong. It's hard for Trent to say Spencer Torkelson, wow, I was wrong. There is a theme out there with the Tigers right now from a national perspective where there is an expecting result in the second half that cannot be similar to the first half. In other words, too many people are not convinced. I asked you this, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Do you truly believe that they are the best? Not in your heart, but in your head. All right? What is it that needs to be done? We could talk about what person should be here in a trade. Eugenio Suarez is a common name associated with Detroit. I've brought up different names in the past, but he's one of them. ESPN.com came out with an article, which players should be traded and which team should trade for them. So with Suarez, they bring up the Tigers and the Mariners. And I want you to listen to what they write about this. And this is what I'm having a hard time understanding why we feel this way, or why they feel this way. I shouldn't say we. They write, there are several contenders in need of an upgrade at third base, including the Cubs and the Reds, but the Tigers and Mariners might have the edge in prospect depth to make this deal. The Tigers will likely make multiple moves. That's encouraging here. No doubt adding bullpen arm at a minimum. As I said yesterday, they need a starter first and foremost. And while the lineup has shown surprising depth, adding Suarez to hit between Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green feels like the perfect fit while allowing Zach McKinstry to return to his utility role. Here's the line that made me wonder just a little bit and made me want to talk about this. Suarez would also hedge against some of the possible regression from the likes of McKinstry, Javier Baez, Gleyber Torres, and Spencer Torkelson, who have performed much better than last season. Suarez would hedge the bet. So I'm reading this and I'm thinking, when people are writing these articles, do you think they do any research whatsoever? Or is it just a feeling on their part? No, I'm serious. Hedge the bet. Nothing against Eugenio Suarez, okay? Good home run power. Last year, hit 30 bombs. This year already has 26. So I mentioned that with Riley Green, 24 last year, already 21. I have to give credit where credit is due. Eugenio Suarez struck out 176 times last year. He batted 256. He's batting 254 now. Did I miss something where he was a silver slugger?
No.
Did I miss something that he was an all-star? His numbers this year Slugging is up. OPS is up. His numbers this year are on pace. The home runs will be up, but on pace for last year. On base percentage, batting average, strikeouts. He's got 89 punchies. All right. So you figure halfway through the season, double it if that's what you're going to do with the other guys. If you're saying this is not who Javier Baez, that's basically what I'm reading into it. Tell me if I'm wrong. Gleyber Torres can't keep up this pace. Baez can't keep up this pace. McKinstry can't keep up this pace. Torkelson can't keep up this pace. It's interesting. Torkelson with 18 homers. I mean, he on pace for 34, 35. That would be a career high for him. He's on pace for a career high in slug. He's a career high on base or a career high for home runs and RBIs. Why is he the one who, I mean, he's out kicking his coverage from last year. But 2 years ago, no.
Yeah, I do find it interesting how many people are the negative or lack of buy-in, I should say. Like the lack of buy-in on these Tigers players that are maybe having career years, but they don't necessarily think it's sustainable.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they have to, okay? I'm not. Just because,
not all of them.
Just because you and I are Tigers fans and everybody listening are Tigers fans doesn't mean that we're right. I mean, just take a step back and realize maybe we're wrong. Maybe this person who wrote this article is correct.
Has a point.
Okay, yeah. Maybe they've got a legitimate point. And David Schoenfield has written for a long, long time for ESPN. He's good. We refer to his articles a number of times. I think he does a really good job. My question is so Javier Baez has been terrible with the Tigers. So that means there's no way he can break out of it. Do you not think, oh, well, you know what? Now he's healthy. So maybe he is deserving. He has as many RBIs this year as he had all of last year. And you're telling me, sorry, he can't do what he did perhaps in 2020.
Idiotic.
Okay. The thing about Spencer Torkelson, as I mentioned, here's a guy who last year was awful, admittedly. But 2 years ago, why can't he be? Has he not shown you that he can do that? You're telling me, excuse me, Gleyber Torres can't keep up this pace. And yet a year ago or 2 years ago, Gleyber Torres had 28 bombs, hit 273. Is he so far off that type of player? Do we only measure players from the previous season? How far back do you want to go? I mean, look, he was an all-star in 18 and 19, so we won't bring that up. We won't say that he can be that same type of player. He's not going to drive in 90 runs like he did in 2019. Maybe he will. He's got 43 now. So kind of halfway there. He'll probably come close to that. But you're going to use, so I don't want to take you back 6-7 years. But why is it last year is the standard? Just out of curiosity. You think a guy cannot, it's impossible for a guy to recreate what he did even a couple of years ago. Why is that a bad thing? Why do you not think that is possible? A couple of years ago, Zach McKinstry had a decent year as a utility guy. He had over 100 knocks, batted 240 or so off the
Fire
bench.
up chips.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 1-3 WAR player back then. Okay, would you take a guy like that off your bench? Yeah. So back to the utility role, I get. But the other guys, we're only going to focus on the negative and the bad that they were a year ago, rather than the positives that they have indicated in their careers at times, and more recent times, I might add. Meyer Hotline, 866-838-4843. You can text the show at Sports Radio 21,000. The Red Wings don't have to impress me. Seriously, they don't. I don't have to be dazzled. But what they've done so far is a yawn moment. We'll get to that when we return on X's and Bros. We're brought to you by Meyer this hour throughout the great state of Michigan.
Are you ready to elevate your gaming experience with the Eagle Casino and Sports app? Wager your way anytime, anywhere. At home, on the go, or tailgating at your favorite Michigan game. Plus, you'll have the chance to receive up to $1,000 in free bets. From money lines to parlays, bet on all the action right from your phone. Your games, your way. Only with Eagle Casino and Sports. Go you! Must be located in Michigan and 21 years or older. Conditions apply. Visit playeagle.com to join the action. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
This is Matt Shepard. If you're like me, you want to create memories when you golf, and there's no better place in the state of Michigan to do that than Tullymore, where the people are as genuine as the golf itself. Tullymore will create a custom-made golf package for you with discounts that allow you to save up to 30%. Look, these special experiences are more than just golf. It's about lodging and dining and service. Nowhere do you get all of that better than at Tullymore in St. Ives. 2 championship courses with unlimited special memories waiting for you. Go to TullymoreGolf.com.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at FreddyThePizzaMan.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit FreddyThePizzaMan.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Back with you on X's and Bros on a Tullymore Thursday. Go to tullymoregolf.com. It's got fantastic deals for you and your outings, but more importantly, it's got fantastic golf for you, first and foremost. I'm not one of those guys who I believe general managers of any sport have to wow me. Like Duncan Robinson with the Pistons, a lot of people are very lukewarm on it. I get it. I think he's going to do things to help Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, perhaps Jalen Duren that we don't always see. There's a vision from Trajan Langdon and JB Bickerstaff on what they need, the type of player they need. You and I like tough guys, don't we? Duncan Robinson's not a tough guy, okay? He's poor defensively, all right? He's not average. He's poor. Gleyber Torres is average. Gleyber Torres is an average second baseman this year. In the past, not so much. This year, he's an average defensive second baseman. Very good offensively, but average. Duncan Robinson's not even average defensively. He's not necessarily a tough guy. Mentally, I think he is. He has to be. You shoot 40% from three in that league, knowing and everybody knowing that's what your specialty is. They're not worried about decking and driving. They're not worried about a sick crossover like Tim Hardaway Sr. or Allen Iverson. They're not. They're worried. Don't lose sight of number 22 or whatever number he's going to now wear with the Pistons, because that dude can shoot. He's your shooter. You and I play a pickup game. Let's say we're playing in the Gus Macker. How long does it take for you and I to figure out who their shooter is? Not very fast, or not very long, I should say. We can figure it out pretty fast, right? The guy who's drifting along the perimeter, they're shooting it. All right. Pick up the shooter. And Gus Macker, you got to have at least one. At least. You need more like two of the three. It's 3-on-3 tournament. So we understand who he is. And I get why a lot of people are like, oh my God, here we go. 3-point shooters. I mean, you loved it when Malik Beasley did it 319 times. Woohoo! Give me the shoulder shimmy, baby. That's awesome. Duncan Robinson comes here. Dude can stroke it 180 or plus or a year ago. Are you just waiting for the shoulder shimmy? It's not like Malik Beasley was a really good defensive player, but he's more of a scorer. Robinson's a shooter. Beasley's a scorer. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm talking about off the bench. 16 points per game is not a scorer per se. Anthony Edwards, those guys are scorers. I'm talking about for a guy in his role coming off the bench, that's who he is. So I understand why a lot of people are kind of hemming and hawing about that. They're not thrilled with it. They're probably not thrilled with Karis LeVert. And it has nothing to do with them being Michigan players. I don't think people care about that. They can't be that simple-minded. Oh, my God, I went to MSU. I went to Ohio State. I can't like them because they went to Michigan. That's a long time ago. For Karis LeVert, the dude's 32. Enough. You don't have to worry about that. All that should matter is what they're going to do for you when they wear red, white, and blue, black, orange, teal, burgundy, all the other colors that the Pistons use. That's what should be mattering most to you. And you would have rather had somebody else. I can understand why. LeVert gets hurt. I'm not trying to rhyme here. LeVert does get hurt. Robinson is a shooter, but he's not going to provide much for you defensively. If I ask those same people, do you want Patrick Kane? They go, absolutely. Patrick Kane stinks defensively, but he scores power play goals. And you need scoring. Pistons need scoring too, man. I'm not trying to make you understand the logic or have you buy into these two free agents. I'm just trying to tell you that, there are things that we oftentimes use as a reason why we like one guy, but we won't carry it over to another guy because perhaps it's a little bit more blatant. Because in hockey, we're not watching Patrick Kane slow foot his way back to a back check. We're watching the puck. Whereas with Duncan Robinson, it becomes a little bit more obvious. My point is, the general manager doesn't have to wow me. I don't have to be blown away. But I would like something that I can tell is going to make our team better. The Red Wings have signed guys like, well, they traded for John Gibson, who is, he's not an elite goalie, but he's a 1. No, I don't think you want him in net every single night, but he's a 1. On an average to poor team, he's probably a 1. He's not going to steal you a stand. He's not Sergei Bobrovsky. We understand that. There are certain standards we always bring up. Sergei Bobrovsky was not available, so let's be careful. But he's an upgrade. How's that? I much rather have him and Cam Talbot as a 1-2 punch. James Van Riemsdyk, would have loved him 10 years ago. And he's in his 17th season. Okay. A role player. Is that fair to say? Yes. Ian Mitchell, Boston disappointed that they lose him, but he's a guy who, can compete for some blue line time for this team, I suppose. There's nobody that's moving your needle. None. Barely even your own guys. Soderblom, Johansson, Berggren, Kane. It's like, oh my God, really? And then they bring in Mason Appleton. 2-year deal, worth 2.9. My son loves hockey, and I said to him, hey, did you see what the Red Wings did? No, I didn't. Not yet. They signed Mason Appleton. Who? Mason Appleton. Okay. 2.9. What? What are they doing? That was his response. Supposedly brings a little bit more of an edge. I'm going to be honest with you. And I remember him playing at Michigan State. And I heard, I read an article that said he was a standout at MSU. Trent wasn't there yet when Mason Appleton played at Michigan State. He played 2 years at MSU. Okay. He started in the USHL, Tri-City, went to Michigan State, and then jumped to the pros. But 2 years. He played 72 games. If I said to you, who's a standout at MSU, you would say guys like Kip Miller, Justin Abdelkader. Plenty. Okay. They've had plenty of really good players, great players come through there. Ryan Miller won a Hobie. Okay. You don't have to win a Hobie to do it. Rod Brindamore was a hell of a player. Okay. Duncan Keith was a hell of a player. Jim Slater was a hell of a player. I could go on and on. The number of impact Michigan State players who were high end in college doesn't mean you got to be a standout at the NHL level. But it was tabbed a standout at MSU. He played 72 games, scored 17 goals. Stop. He's not a standout. He was not a standout at Michigan State University. He wasn't. Hopefully, he stands out a little bit more with Detroit. He had 10 goals in 70-plus games last year. He had the career high for him is 14. What does this team need? This team needs a guy who plays with an edge. There you go. Hopefully that's – I didn't recognize it while watching Winnipeg, that he was that disruptor, that equivalent to Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand. Full disclosure, and I said this yesterday, would not have signed either one of them to what Florida did. 8 years, $8 million for Bennett. Ridiculous, irresponsible. You can do that when you win back-to-back cups and go to 3 in a row. Brad Marchand would never have given him a 6-year deal. So I'm okay with losing out to those guys. I am. And that's part of our sports society problem. We want the name. When you sign the name to a long-term deal, you hate the fact that you did that. You did it just for the sake of doing it 3 years down the road. This one, not that you've got to move my needle. This one is a yawner. All of them have been yawners. Our phone number on the Meijer hotline, 866-838-4843. We'll pick it up on the other side. Quick timeout on a Tullymore Thursday here on X's and BrO's.
My good friend Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Together with Garvey's family and friends, they are all stepping up to help change the course for children. Now, the annual golf outing for Family Promise of West Michigan will be on September 8th at the beautiful Thousand Oaks Golf Course on the north side of GR. And you can join Josh, his family, and Dorn Mayhew Grand Rapids in their quest to end homelessness one family at a time. They're looking for sponsors. They're looking for foursomes. If you want to be a part of it, it's simple and easy. Go to familypromisewm.org. That's familypromisewm.org. They're looking for sponsors, foursomes. The event is coming up in September on the 8th at Thousand Oaks. You can be a part of it today and help families find a home. Go to familypromisewm.org. That's familypromisewm.org.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Depth. It's something that every team needs. We saw it with Florida in the Stanley Cup Finals and how they wore down Edmonton last year. And perhaps Steve Yzerman is looking to add depth to his organization. I don't know, but I don't think a general manager's job is to dazzle me. You don't have to wow me. All right. Some people may feel that way because, hey, part of his job is to put fannies in the seats. And, in order for me to get down there to a game, then, you're going to have to bring in some names. No. You're going to go down if your team is winning. If I told you certain players, let's just look at the Tigers. Before the season began, forget for a moment, just for a moment, that they made the playoffs a year ago. If I said to you, we're bringing in Alex Cobb, we're bringing in Gleyber Torres, we're bringing in Tommy Kahnle, are you going, okay, damn it, I'm in. I'm buying season tickets right now. No, that didn't dazzle you. It didn't. Be honest. Seeing Zach McKinstry in the lineup on a regular basis doesn't dazzle you. So I'm not here as a talk show host / fan to tell you, damn it, Steve Yzerman, you've got to do more because I want satisfaction with big names. Folks, be honest. Do you know who John Leonard is? No, you don't. You don't know who Ian Mitchell is. You don't know Jacob Bernard Docker either. Those are three names that they signed, two of them defensemen, Docker and Mitchell, the other on the left wing. Do they make this team? They'll have to earn it. All right? But maybe it provides depth on guys coming up in case somebody gets hurt. That's not what this team needs. You and I both know that. This team, let's face it, you and I both think this team needs a star. They don't have one. They're trying to create one. The closest thing they have is who? Patrick Kane, because he's won 3 Stanley Cups. But he's not a star any longer. He's a big name, but he's not a star. Lucas Raymond, if you think a guy leading your team with 80 points, 70 points on a regular basis as a star, then I think your standards are pretty low. They're not to be had. Knowing that, you're not going to sign one in free agency. You're not. You may have wanted a certain guy like Aaron Ekblad. Amen. That would have been awesome. He took a hometown discount to stay in Florida. We ask for that all the time. Let's not be hypocrites here. We asked Tarek Skubal to take that. He doesn't want to be here, Shep. He wants all that money. He and his agent. He should be giving us a hometown discount. Yeah, like you would give your employer a hometown discount. Sure, I'm going to do this for half the money because I love you and you're going to be loyal to me. Not take as much as you can possibly get. Go. All right. Rarely do you find the hometown discounts. Yes, there's Jose Ramirez. But that's what we want. Then somebody else does it. Even though we as a fan base want them, we're going to criticize them. That's not fair. And that's not right. So he wants that. Great. Okay. There's no superstar to be had. You want a Mitch Marner. It was a sign and trade. You wish they were involved. So do I. Don't know what they would have been asking for, but so do I. Because I think he would have been a good fit from a scoring standpoint, something that they need. You're going to have to either trade for one, and you could, not maybe even a star, but a top 6 guy, or you're going to have to develop one. Is Nate Danielson going to be that? Don't know. Is Marco Kasper going to come into his own? That's what he's relying on. And I said this yesterday. The Tigers were relying on it. The Pistons are relying on it. The Lions relied on it. I know it's a little different in hockey because you don't know what you have until they actually get there. You might have thought I was going into a Bon Jovi verse, but I didn't. You don't know what you got till it's gone. You don't know what you have until they get there. We didn't know everything we had in certain players with these specific teams. You didn't know how good Jahmyr Gibbs was. You thought you did. You didn't like the pick. You thought you did. And then he exceeded your expectations. You didn't think Sam Laporta was that good. I watched him at Iowa. He's been really good, right? I mean, so you got to be careful there. I don't know how good Nate Danielson is going to be. I don't know how good Elmer Soderblom is going to be. Certain guys we think we already know. All right? We think we know how good a guy like Simon Edmondson is. Or a Michael Rasmussen is probably a better example because Edmondson hasn't been doing it very long. Michael Rasmussen doesn't appear to be a guy who's going to be any more than, at best, a third-line player. So you wanted more depth. They got it. He didn't address what I said they needed, and that's more depth in the top 6 line or top 6 forwards, top 2 lines. If you looked at their lines today, who would be their line? I mean, would it be the first line would be Raymond, Larkin, and DeBrincat, right? Okay. It's not a bad line. Second line would be Kane, Casper, and who? Van Riemsdyk? Probably. Unless you put Comfer in there. Maybe you put Casper on the first line. I don't know. But I would have him. I thought they wanted him to center the second line. It's where you need some depth. Third line, Kopp and Comfer are both centers. Soderblom adds to it. Fourth line, Appleton, Rasmussen, Berggren. You got Carter Mazur, and Nate Danielson as possible extras. Defensively, Edmondson and Sider, I would think, would go together. They're the top pairing. I actually don't mind Ben Sherratt and Albert Johansson as the second liners, and then Jacob Bernard Docker and whomever. Maybe it's Ian Mitchell. I don't know. Maybe somebody wins out. Who could that be? I'm not sure right now. But I do know that they needed depth in their top 6. And I don't think they got it. What they got, though, is depth at the bottom, second or third and fourth lines, and they're going to rely on their young guys to develop into the difference-making players that they need. In other words, Marco Casper has to be really good this year. Lucas Raymond has to take it up even further. Jonathan Berggren has got to be better, even though he's not a top 6. I wouldn't put him in a top 6. He's got to be better. That's what they're relying on. Look, the 2 Pistons signings also opens more room, and this is something we've got to keep in mind, for Ron Holland. Perhaps for a Marcus Sasser, but especially for Ron Holland and Asar Thompson. Those 2 guys are going to be the difference between Detroit and Indiana in the NBA is not, I don't think, going to be Karis LeVert, former Pacer, and or Duncan Robinson. I think it's going to be the ascension of Ron Holland and Asar Thompson. You could say the same thing about the Wings. The difference between the Wings and Ottawa, the difference between the Wings and Montreal has got to be the play of Marco Casper and Elmer Soderblom and Simon Edmondson and Lucas Raymond. Lucas Raymond led him in scoring last year. You need more. We read you the quote from Tarek Skubal the other day. I want the high expectations because I have those expectations for myself. That would be awesome. That's what they need. And the reason they need it is because they have not gone out and gotten one of those elite players. And let's face it, there weren't that many. There's still a couple left, as we discussed yesterday with Art Regner. He joined us at 8:35 yesterday, and we talked about two specific names, Ehlers being one of them, Baszler being the other. But the responsibility of Steve Yzerman, and he's laid it out, what his goals are. It's not just making the playoffs. It's being able to make the playoffs on a regular basis and compete for championships. They feel like a long way away, don't they? You're not going to put yourself in short-term purgatory or long-term purgatory, depending on contract, just for the sake of using money and signing a player. He's made the mistake of doing that with other players on this team that you now want gone. You don't like the way the contract has worked out with JT Comfort. You don't like the way the contract has worked out with Andrew Cobb. Perhaps you don't like the contract with Ben Sherratt. That's possible, okay? Justin Hull, for sure. You don't like that contract. Okay. Why would he duplicate those mistakes? Why do you want him to make those mistakes? Sign a guy long-term, more money than he probably deserves, more money that you are willing to give, and yet you want him to do it again just to satisfy you, just to jazz up the lineup, just to wow us. We got somebody. Thank goodness. Where does it get you? It hasn't gotten you squat. Let's stop acting like Steve Yzerman's job or Trajan Langdon's job or Scott Harris or Brad Holmes is to please us with a name or a signing. What pleases us most is when that team wins. We're going to look back and we're going to be really happy, or we're going to be really pissed off. And there are some guys, why didn't you go out and sign this guy? I get it. Okay. But when you have certain teams resisting that temptation of overpaying a name player because the fan base is calling for it and still winning, you'll change their opinion. Was Javier Baez a big name? When the Tigers signed him as a free agent, was he a big name? Absolutely. For the most part, people were thrilled. Look at who we got. First 3 years, that didn't work out very well, did it? You turned on that cat pretty fast. But it jazzed things up. It made headlines. It created conversation between you and friends. Those conversations quickly turned negative. But they had conversations when they first, who cares? The guys who fly under the radar oftentimes can be pretty damn exciting. How you sign them, how you trade for them. Nobody knew, I shouldn't say nobody. Not many people knew of Vinnie Johnson in Seattle before Detroit traded for him. And Vinnie Johnson became a really important piece to the Pistons' success. Not many people know who Dave Bergman was. Or Willie Hernandez. But the 84 Tigers needed both of them to win a championship. I don't have to be blown away by a free agent signing. But it's got to make a little sense and address some of the needs that you have. I understand that the Red Wings are handicapped. To a certain extent, maybe the Pistons were too. Look, I wanted Miles Turner. I sure as hell wouldn't have signed him for that. And it's interesting how, many people view the Pistons or Detroit teams as teams unwilling to spend money. Indiana let that get in the way with Miles Turner. And they made the championship last year. Won't make it next year. Not without Halliburton. Not without Turner. You might see some guys starting to go, you know what? I want out of here. Pascal Siakam. Wait a minute. We make the championship, then we lose to injury. You don't bring back one of our most important players? But I digress. players who don't always have the big name sometimes can be really impactful, is the point. The Red Wings, unfortunately, I don't think have either. They haven't brought in the big name player, and they haven't brought in a guy who recently has been really productive. This team needs scoring. Yes, they need some grit. I don't doubt that. A fourth line, dare I say, even a third line, if you're lucky, but a fourth line player in Mason Appleton, how much of an impact is he going to have? Steve Yzerman's trying to build some depth. That's fine, I guess. My frustration is, and I hope it's not misguided here. I really don't. I don't want people to think that it's easy. It's not easy. It's a tough balance for him. He's got a really difficult job to do. I don't think it's the ownership saying don't spend the money. I think he's trying to spend the money wisely. Okay. My frustration is he's picking up a guy who plays 14, 15 minutes a game. My frustration is he's picking up a guy, they're selling us a guy whose career high in goals is 14. That's it. His career high in points is 36. He had 36 points in 82 games 2 years ago. Where is the difference maker? The difference maker is going to have to come from within. You're going to look at two guys specifically, forwards, two forwards who must elevate their game in order for this team to have any modicum of success. And that is Marco Kasper and Lucas Raymond. DeBrincat's going to get his. Larkin's going to get his. Kane is a situational player. It's those two guys who are going to have to help carry this team's offensive load, primarily. Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text the program 21,000. This is X's and Bros. We're brought to you on a Monday through Friday from 6 until 9 in the 7 o'clock hour by our friends at Meyer.
In the den. Step up to the plate with Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sportsbook app that you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today at Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play. This is Matt Shepard. The 95th MLB All-Star Game is in Atlanta. It takes place July 15th, and the Tigers are well represented. For the first time since 2007, the Tigers have 3 starters, as do the Dodgers. Riley Green will make his second straight appearance, but first start. He's joined by Javier Baez in the outfield, first Tigers duo to earn starts in the outfield since Ron LaFleur and Rusty Staub in 1976. Gleyber Torres will start at second base, the first Tiger since Placido Polanco in 2007, and fourth ever with Charlie Gehringer, Lou Whitaker, and Polanco. Tarek Skubal most likely will get the starting nod as well. This Tigers season keeps getting better, seemingly on a daily basis.
The Buy 5, Save 5 deals at Meijer are a great way to stock up on all your 4th of July celebration supplies. Buy 5 or more and save $5 or more when you mix or match hundreds of items, like 24 packs of select Coca-Cola and Pepsi products, plus deposit where applicable. Oscar Mayer Classic Beef Franks, Kraft Shredded or Chunk Cheese, Dole Chopped or Premium Salad Kits, and Dixie Family Pack plates, bowls, or hot cups. The Buy 5, Save 5 deals at Meijer. That's the good life. A good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the upcoming Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to be launching the center in Farmington Hills this fall. It will provide exercise, therapy, and educational programs that will help the Parkinson's community. Just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality of their clients' retirements, this center will help improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center will be available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right. Absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and the caregivers.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center will make in the fight against Parkinson's.
Since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center will encourage others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Soar to new heights of winning with Eagle Casino and Sports. Enjoy your favorite games wherever you are, whether at home or on the go. Dive into exciting slots, spin the roulette wheel, or challenge yourself with virtual table games, all at your fingertips. Sign up now and opt in to receive a deposit match up to $1,500 for the casino, plus up to 100 free spins. Download the Eagle Casino and Sports app today and experience winning with just a tap. Go you! Must be located in Michigan and 21 years or older. Other conditions apply. Visit playeagle.com to join the action. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
When you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Home run! Home run! He hit it a mile! Let's give them the keys to the Hall of Fame, but not tonight. Tonight they earn the Stanley Cup. Steve Eisenman, come get it.
It feels like heaven. Heaven must be like. I got one question for you, Michigan Nation. Who's got it better than us?
Right center field. That's got carry. It's gone. Number 500 and history for Miguel Cabrera.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Yes. This game is over.
Let's put the kick.
They score. Red Wings win. Detroit basketball.
Final hour of the program. Glad you're with us here on X's and Bros throughout our state of Michigan. Happy 4th of July week and weekend that begins tomorrow. Hope you have an opportunity to go out and enjoy a Tullymore Thursday, perhaps today. Maybe you're going up north. Maybe you're taking in one of the Great Lakes that we have here in this phenomenal state. Whatever it is, whoever you're with, hope you're safe and hope you enjoy it. This is the final hour of our program, 8:18. We will get into what one former teammate of a new Piston said about him and why it should leave you encouraged, perhaps. In case you missed yesterday, the Tigers split with the Nationals. Riley Green with 2 3-run homers, 6 RBIs overall in game number 1. Has 21 homers already, 69 RBIs. Tigers won that first game, no problem, 11-2. They lost the nightcap 9-4, though. Meanwhile, they have 3 starters in the All-Star game for the first time since 2007. You've got Riley Green, Javier Baez in the outfield. First time the Tigers have had 2 starting outfielders since 1976 when Ron LaFleur and Rusty Staub were there. Very odd. And Rusty Staub in right, Ron LaFleur in left. And then you have Gleyber Torres starting as well at second base. First time the Tigers have had a starting second baseman since Placido Polanco. You would expect Tarek Skubal to start the game. I mean, who else is going to start it? Jacob deGrom could. He's been really good, man. I mean, 14 straight starts of 2 runs or less. Anybody else even threatened there? I'm talking about from the American League. Okay, anybody else threatened there? I don't think so. So I think that's a foregone conclusion. Red Wings have signed Mason Appleton to a 2-year deal worth $2.9 million. Here's our Mitch Lyons Wealth Poll question of the day. Which Tiger is most deserving of his All-Star nod? Riley Green, Gleyber Torres, or Javier Baez? You can vote at XB Mornings. We'll give you the results tomorrow morning in the 6 o'clock hour when Trent Bally hosts this show. So looking forward to that. We were done talking about, being all jazzed and being dazzled by free agents. And I'm not one of those guys who necessarily feels that way. Although when we get a big name, we are like, oh, this is awesome. I know he wasn't a big name for a lot of people. When Detroit signed Kevin Zeitler, when the Lions signed Kevin Zeitler, I was like, this is awesome. He's a road grader. This is going to be really good for this team. So he was really good at his position, borderline great at his position, but the name recognition for a lot in football may have slipped by you because you've got to, let's face it, it's impact, right? And how many times do you view a guard as being really impactful until you lose him or until a sack is made or a runner is stopped behind the line of scrimmage? You understand where I'm going. Read an article yesterday or 2 days ago on the teams in football and what could hold them back. Their biggest questions, the lingering question every NFL team has. And I immediately, like you would, go to what do they think about the Lions? This is what you and I talked about on Monday, okay? Could the Lions offensive line take a step back in 2025? We viewed it as the best last year when really it was Philadelphia, but we viewed it as the best. And it was among the best, no question. Here's what The Athletic writes. The Lions' offensive line, viewed as one of the league's best for several seasons now, is in a transitional period. Franchise pillar Frank Ragnow announced his retirement at 29 this summer. What do you think the over-under is on him returning? Like giving a thought to, I feel much better now. I'm healthy now. I want to play another year. Could be. It's happened with Darren Waller before, right? J.J. Watt thought about it. He's 29. If he wanted to, he could come back. I think that's a great possibility. I do. I think it's great, probably no. I think it's a very good possibility that Frank Ragnow does come back at some point, even for just a couple of years. Anyway, they write, Kevin Zeitler provided Pro Bowl caliber play at right guard last season, but left in free agency, went to Tennessee. Taylor Decker, Graham Glasgow will be 32 and 33 respectively when the season begins. Not sure we've made enough of that either. We just assume they're there. They were part of a really good unit a year ago. It'll continue with those guys as pillars, and then we rely so much on Penei Sewell, and that's a dangerous assumption on our part, on my part anyway. There's reason to feel good about Detroit's offensive line despite these developments. Penei Sewell is still there, and the team has added a trio of young interior linemen in Christian Mahogany, Tate Ratledge, and Miles Frazier in recent years. They represent the next wave, but there could be growing pains along the way. It's a fair point made by a former guest of ours, Colton Pouncey. I had just mentioned, if you want this Red Wings team to elevate their play because they haven't been able to add the impact player offensively in free agency or defensively in free agency, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to rely on young players growing. Pistons grew when Cade Cunningham got better. Jalen Duren got better. You'll need Ron Holland next year. The Lions will have to get strong production, really steady play out of Tate Ratledge. He's going to be so important to that offense. Can't miss on a guy like that in the second round. You can't. Penei Sewell, we know is a rock. Decker, Glasgow, I think you have legitimate concerns on why they may take a step back or not be able to play to the high level in which at least Decker was used to. And it's not like he's a Pro Bowl tackle, but he's a steady force, right? You're going to have to you're going to have to look at his replacement eventually. An injury to one of those guys, think about what it does. Like I gave Dan Campbell a ton of credit last year for not moving Penei Sewell from right tackle to left tackle when Taylor Decker missed a game or two. Remember that? I think you do. Most coaches, that would be the temptation. They didn't do that. Dan Skipper came in and played pretty well. If you lose one of those guys, if you lose Graham Glasgow, it's funny how one of the bigger question marks becomes so important, or you lose a Taylor Decker, that is a huge loss for this team, considering they've already lost two guys. A year ago, you could absorb it. This coming season, I'm not sure you can. Growing pains are one thing. I get it. But you're going to need one of those young guys to be as impactful as any young guy could be. Let's hope Tate Ratledge, to expect him to be Frank Ragnow is unfair. But you need him to fit in and fit in seamlessly for this team to have any hopes in winning the division again. That's how important those positions are and that unit is. Our phone number on the Meijer hotline, 866-838-4843. Text us, Sports Radio 21,000. Final results of the poll question yesterday and our daily wager on the other side.
In the den.
Step up to the plate with Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sportsbook app that you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today at Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play. This is Matt Shepard. The 95th MLB All-Star Game is in Atlanta. It takes place July 15th, and the Tigers are well represented. For the first time since 2007, the Tigers have 3 starters, as do the Dodgers. Riley Green will make his second straight appearance, but first start. He's joined by Javier Baez in the outfield, first Tigers duo to earn starts in the outfield since Ron LaFleur and Rusty Staub in 1976. Gleyber Torres will start at second base, the first Tiger since Placido Polanco in 2007, and fourth ever with Charlie Gehringer, Lou Whitaker, and Polanco. Tarek Skubal most likely will get the starting nod as well. This Tigers season keeps getting better, seemingly on a daily basis.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com. Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
18 after the hour on this Tullymore Thursday. Hope you get the opportunity to play there, if not this weekend, sometime this summer. TullymoreGolf.com for Tullymore and St. Ives. Just awesome place. We're brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Before we get to the final results of the poll question from yesterday and the Soaring Eagle and Casino daily wager, the Duncan Robinson signing but Detroit's ability to pivot, Trajan Langdon's ability to pivot, knowing that Malik Beasley was not going to be back because of the FBI investigation. We got into that yesterday. The depth of that is just flipping crazy, man. At the end of the year, in December, when they start ranking some of the surprising stories in Michigan, sports-wise, is there a bigger surprise than this? In a positive way, it could be Baez, right? In a positive way, it could be Mize. We've talked about that. In a positive way, it was definitely the Pistons' reversal from 14 wins to 44 and making the playoffs. Maybe it's the Tigers if they get to the World Series. Yeah, that might be the biggest surprise. This is one of them, though, isn't it? The Malik Beasley. Oh my God, who saw this coming? Nobody saw the depth of his sliminess in this regard.
Especially after, and Shep, I know you don't look a whole lot into like the sentimentality of the open letter to the city, but the Athletic or the Players Tribune, whatever it was, posts that letter he writes.
Yeah.
And it's like, that guy?
It was nice. That guy. I like those letters. I appreciate it. I think it's great. I mean, Tarek Skubal did one before the season, right? By the way, Miles Turner did one to Indiana. But anyway, now he's a Milwaukee Buck. I think they're nice. It's an appreciation. I think they're heartfelt. It doesn't make me go, well, now I got to have him. I wanted him because he's a really good bench player. He finished second in the Sixth Man of the Year. I mean, I not just voting, the numbers of the impact. Look at the impact. It was a positive. The reason they win 44, he's a huge reason. He played more games than anybody else on that team. Okay? He's playing every single game. He's contributing every single game for the most part. But nobody saw that sliminess. That is one of the biggest stories for sure.
Yep.
The ability to pivot so quickly by Trajan Langdon to Duncan Robinson to try and make up some of the scoring has been really important. You may not like the signing. There's plenty of negatives. He doesn't play very good defense, as we talked about earlier. All right. He doesn't set great screens. He's not quote unquote tough-minded, physically, not really. Chris Paul, there was a video out of Chris Paul bullying him, basically, dogging him, threw the basketball off him. Duncan Robinson just turns around and walks away. You're like, are you serious, dude? Jimmy Butler then bullies Chris Paul because of what he did to his teammate, which makes you like Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler played with him in Miami. So did Udonis Haslem. Here's what Udonis Haslem had to say about Duncan Robinson and what he can help with the Pistons.
I mean, I'm happy for Dunk. He's a guy who's ignitable, but the thing he's going to do for them mostly is open up Cade Cunningham and other guys. The way defenses react to when Duncan steps on the basketball court, they face guard him. They don't help side defense. I never understood why offensive shooters couldn't play defense on another shooter. He's literally doing the same thing you do, but shooters can't guard shooters, sir. With Duncan Robinson being on the floor, it's going to take so much pressure off Cade Cunningham and those other guys. It's going to free those guys up. Once those guys get free, you're going to watch Duncan Robinson start knocking down shots. Defense is something Dunk got to work on. He know that. Got to guard somebody, Dunk. But offensively, it's going to help them.
It's an interesting bite, isn't it? It's telling. I'm not saying it's the perfect fit. I'm not saying not to dwell on some of the negatives. He's not a complete player.
He's acknowledging those, you know? I think that's what, more than anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Udonis Haslem is acknowledging that he's not a great defender.
Right.
And he played with him and practiced with him for 4 or 5 years, right?
But just that doesn't help me. I don't think you're trying to help me here. We're not trying to calm people down. We're not trying to take them off the ledge. But it sure doesn't help the argument that people have on why they didn't want him, Trent. Why they didn't want him is because they don't feel like he's a complete player. Answer me this. How complete was Malik Beasley? How complete was Tim Hardaway Jr.? How complete is Tobias Harris?
And furthermore, even if you like or love a player like Malik Beasley, how much more complete is he than Duncan Robinson?
Yeah.
Maybe not at all.
Well, I do think he's closer to being complete just because I think he plays a little bit better
defense. Yeah.
But I also think he's not a guy who, quote unquote, settles for 3-point shooting. Duncan Robinson is out there to make threes, period. Not often are you going to find him decking and driving. The problem I think a lot of people have is that he doesn't play a lick of defense. And I mean, when you are getting replaced in the postseason for that reason, that's a serious problem. And when you are building a culture like the Pistons have, where you're trying to be tougher and you're trying to be more of an attitude / edge type team, this doesn't help that cause.
Shep, can I read you a text real quick?
A text? Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is from my good buddy, Felipe, who's a Miami Heat fan. Okay. I texted him yesterday. I said, don't sugarcoat this. What are we getting in Duncan Robinson? He says, you're getting a weapon, especially for Cade. No matter what, if he's on the floor, he's stretching defenses. He's easily one of the best catch and shoot shooters in the 2020s NBA.
No question. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's.
I think that's a pretty measured take. That's from a diehard Heat fan who watches every single game.
If you look at it, Duncan Robinson made 193s last year. He made 290 field goals overall. So when I say that's what he's out there to do, the year before, 187 threes out of 300 field goals made. That's who he is. If you think he's going to be somebody other than that, then that's on you. Now, you could say, oh, he's supposed to evolve his game. Some guys fall into a situation. This is who they are. This is their specialty. This is what they're going to provide for you. Go into the season thinking to yourself, you know what? This dude is going to stretch the floor. He's going to open up some space for Cade Cunningham. He's a guy who's going to knock down threes. And if he doesn't knock down threes, he's not going to play. But if you expect him to be the second coming of Gary Payton, you are sorely misled, and you have been misleading yourself the entire time. I don't expect that, but I expect him to be better than he has been in the past. And my hope is the culture in which they've built there allows him to do that. You know what? And look, Eric Spoelstra built a hell of a culture too. But the Pistons are trying, the push for him to be better has to be there from within, and it will be. But he is there to be a 3-point shooter. Credit to the Pistons for being able to shift gears, move a little bit, grab a different lane, and address an issue. Doesn't make him complete. I'm not saying he was the perfect fit. I'm saying he's going to help this team in ways sometimes we don't always see. All right, the results when we come back were brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort on a Tullymore Thursday.
The stock market has been all over the place, and if you're nearing or in retirement, it's probably got you nervous. Will you have enough to retire? Are you worried about running out of money? Are you sick of hearing, just ride it out? What can you do differently to ensure that you have enough to retire comfortably with an income that's guaranteed to last your lifetime? Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, and I've got great news for you today. I'm a featured expert in a groundbreaking film called The Retirement Deception. This film reveals exactly how you can create a guaranteed income with your nest egg protected from market volatility. Wall Street may not want you to see this film, but I do want you to see it at no cost. That's right. It's absolutely free when you call today. I want you to know the truth about retirement. A secure retirement is achievable. Call today to speak with one of our retirement specialists to get your free copy of The Retirement Deception. Call 866-85-STEEL. That's 866-857-8335. Again, 866-857-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com. Your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the huge show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Are you ready to elevate your gaming experience with the Eagle Casino and Sports app? Wager your way anytime, anywhere. At home, on the go, or tailgating at your favorite Michigan game. Plus, you'll have the chance to receive up to $1,000 in free bets. From money lines, parlays, bet on all the action right from your phone. Your games, your way. Only with Eagle Casino and Sports. Go you. Must be located in Michigan and 21 years or older. Conditions apply. Visit playeagle.com to join the action. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The Buy 5 Save 5 deals at Meijer are a great way to stock up on all your 4th of July celebration supplies. Buy 5 or more and save $5 or more when you mix or match hundreds of items, like 24 packs of select Coca-Cola and Pepsi products, plus deposit where applicable. Oscar Mayer Classic Beef Franks, Kraft Shredded or Chunk Cheese, Dole Chopped or Premium Salad Kits, and Dixie Family Pack plates, bowls, or hot cups. The Buy 5 Save 5 deals at Meijer. That's the good life. A good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
I do enjoy the conversation why certain people gravitate toward other players. Fan base, other players want to play with other players. You know, you can understand why they would want to play with a great player. But there are certain role players, you're like, I'd love to play with that dude. Why? Well, because of what he means to a team, what he can do for other highly skilled individuals. And perhaps, I haven't seen that with any of the Red Wings signings, but perhaps, just perhaps, a guy like Duncan Robinson could do that for the Pistons. Could do that. He might not make an all-star game. He's not going to. He might not be the guy who's going to lead your team in scoring. He's not going to. Or any particular category outside of three-point shooting. But what he can do is a few things that we don't always recognize. I think what happens a lot of times, if you're not getting the guy you want, could be a fan, could be a talk show host, could be a TV anchor, I don't care. If you don't get the guy you want, the guy your team does get, you immediately look toward the negatives. What he can't do instead of what he can or will do. We've had some really good guests on this program over the years. Good ones we want back. Deshaun Tate is one of those guys. He follows the NBA as close as anybody. He's a basketball analyst. You can follow him on Twitter at Tate's Take Hoops. And he joins us on this July 3rd on the Lindsey Hunter Foundation guest line. Deshaun, how are you today?
Outstanding. I appreciate you guys for having me so much, man. Bright and early.
Yeah, that's the way. You get the day started, and you're always making it. You're making
early early bird gets the worm.
Yeah, you're making it a good one for us, and making it giving us a big smile here. Let's first. I do want to get into what some of the other teams in the Eastern Conference have done, because I thought one of your tweets not too long ago was a really good one about the Orlando Magic. I want to get to that, but first, let me ask you what you think the Pistons have been able to do when they acquired Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert. What do each bring to this team that you think this team was lacking, that they needed?
Oh, instant offense, easily. I think when you start thinking about guys, I'm not saying he's, Jamal Crawford by any means, but when you think about guys who can bring that instant impact, high octane offense, don't need a lot to get started, to figure it out, this and that. Someone give them like, hey, will you just shoot the doggone ball for crying out loud? You're not going to have conversations like that with either one of those guys. They know exactly what they're out there to do. Now, obviously, Duncan Robinson, more of a perimeter threat, with Karis being more of a all-around threat, if you will, from an offensive standpoint. Ironically and coincidentally enough, two Wolverine guys. Don't get me started on that as a diehard Spartan. But I will say enough to say that, it's one of those things where I think it's also good because it kind of looks like it made a little bit of a change of the culture or added something different outside of what we had saw. It kind of looked like they were kind of going back into the same mode as they once were with the toughness and the grit and kind of we know what Detroit is. We know what Detroit is about and what it's made out of as a city, as a town, and in general. But I also think that it's very good to be able to add guys who are not only just not the strong-headed guys all the time, but guys that still come with strong-headed game. And I think that that's something that was very important for this team. And specialists on top of that. Anytime you can add a specialist to anything, I think it automatically boosts them a little bit, moves the needle.
I'm with you on that. I suppose the negative is, first and foremost, Karis LeVert's health. Doesn't play very many games historically. And Duncan Robinson's defense. Now, you and I both know this is a three-point league, whether we like it or not. That's the way it's evolved. Last year, Duncan Robinson in the postseason averaged just 15 minutes a game, played all 4 games in Miami's loss to Cleveland, but didn't play significant minutes and sure wasn't a huge contributor offensively. Combined, they're bringing collectively 23 points per game. the negative people will say that's not that much. But what do they do? How do they help other players on this Pistons team to get theirs and become more of a team player?
Well, I think the first thing you do is to be a threat on that offensive end. That is the reason for why you're on the team to begin with. You know, you get more eyes on you. You start drawing more attention from the opposition on the defensive side. And, you know, offensively, they got to look for other guys and check for other guys. And there you are to continue to do your part. And everybody's playing their role. And I think Detroit Pistons was one of the best in the league at that. People talk about what Cade Cunningham did, which was great. The jump that he made and some of the other guys and, you know, Jalen Duren and so forth, who I think is preparing to be, you know, it feels like Bam Adebayo all over again to a degree, right? So, I mean, by the attention that those guys are going to draw, you're going to do nothing but just kind of put them in a position where they kind of have to pick their poison. And because of that, that's going to free up opportunities. That's going to free up space. That's going to free up availability, flexibility, and so many different things. And guys that can be plugged and play at so many different positions. I mean, I'm sitting here doing work for the Atlanta Hawks as the co-host of the Locked On Hawks postcast. Me and my friend Tanisha Batiste, who does a fine job. And we just couldn't stop raving about the job that Karis LeVert did. I mean, soon as you take DeAndre Hunter out when he finally got himself together, he gets shipped off to Cleveland. You bring in Karis LeVert. It almost felt like they hadn't missed a beat from that role coming off the bench. Did he average 20? No, he didn't. But still, for a guy who's just kind of getting adjusted and acclimated to a new system, it didn't feel like he was that far off if he was to remain a Hawk. I think the Pistons are really lucky to have him personally.
Yeah, I think he's a really good player when healthy. Deshaun Tate, basketball analyst, joins us here on X's and Bros. Follow him on Twitter at Tate's Take Hoops. You had mentioned via text or via your Twitter handle the other day. It was a really good one, I thought, and that is about the Orlando Magic and how they are becoming more of a threat in the Eastern Conference. And I'm with you 100% on this. Because, first of all, Paolo Banchero is a hell of a player. We both know that. Franz Wagner has been a better offensive player. I love Jalen Suggs, another guy, if he can stay healthy. I thought he was outstanding at the collegiate level. But adding, you know, a guy like Desmond Bane, Wendell Carter Jr. in there as well, and then some of the strength they have coming off the bench, do you think do you feel like that's a team that takes its next step in the Eastern Conference?
I think so, especially because they're able to, you know, obviously get healthy. Now, obviously, the key is if you can stay healthy, that's going to be the key. You know, those, I mean, we just mentioned three teams who I think all needed pretty much the same thing and can now check that box off of their list. And what do they all have in common? Shooting. Detroit got some of theirs. Atlanta got some of theirs. And obviously Orlando did too. You add Jace Richardson to that mode, who's maybe not just the most, you know, perimeter threat spot up, you know, shooter, whatever, what have you. Yeah. But then you still have those other pieces there as well. You move Cole Anthony off the books. You don't necessarily have Gary Harris there, but you start working other guys in that mode. And I, you know, when I see guys like Jalen Suggs, who I think is who's a pretty good point guard in this league. I'm not quite ready to say a really good point guard in this league yet. Obviously, but his concern is obviously health.
Yeah.
They are so good because they have so many different guys who do different things. There's teams out here who can't stay out of their own way because it looks like they formulated their roster with a bunch of the same types of guys.
Yeah.
They don't strike me as one of those types of teams. Paolo Banchero, probably the closest thing that I've seen realistically to someone like a Carmelo Anthony, if I ever have. Franz Wagner, obviously, what he's able to bring to the table and bring some of that American/international kind of game. He has a mixture of both. Wendell Carter Jr., obviously. I mean, I'm not sure if I can see anything else outside of size that I really feel like that team needs. Desmond Bane has probably been one of the biggest surprises that I think that for me only personally, that I've seen make that kind of jump from TCU and where he was and what he was doing to what he's doing in the NBA and what he's been able to contribute, I haven't seen that kind of a jump in a player that I really didn't anticipate happening in quite some time.
Yeah, I tell you, they have built themselves a really strong, solid core in Orlando. Meanwhile, the team that represented the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals this past season doesn't even look like the same team because of, their best player is hurt and will most likely miss all of next year in Tyrese Haliburton. And then I love Pascal Siakam, but Miles Turner is you could call him perhaps the heartbeat of that team, the most experienced pacer who's now a Buck. How surprised were you that Milwaukee was able to dump Damian Lillard and then sign Miles Turner? And what do you think that does to any upheaval at all between Indiana and Milwaukee specifically?
Yeah, I mean, we anticipate Indiana taking a step back, a significant one, I guess, if you will. But they were also a team that I really feel like can be consistent in some ways based on the fact that they probably have one of the most consistent players, certainly the most consistent we've seen in what I think was the entire playoffs. As from a consistency standpoint, which was Pascal Siakam. You mentioned him already, but what Indiana was able to do just because of the balance at the guard position, especially when it comes to the responsibility of ball handling, getting the ball to its strengths, and not really exposing weaknesses as much. There was times with Tyrese Haliburton just really wasn't having great games, and they were still competing for games, if not coming really close to winning. They still have arguably the best, certainly most underrated coach in the NBA. And then even more so, they still have that system, of course, because of that. They like to get up and down, and they know their way of being able to put the ball in the basket. They don't beat themselves. So just from that standpoint, when you have the youth of someone who has kind of skyrocketed, and I call it skyrocket, some people might feel like that verbiage is a bit much for someone like an Andrew Nembhard, the way he's come into the league and what he was able to do in that system, plus who I think is the best or at the top three of best, backup point guards in the league, and TJ McConnell, an extension of a veteran, coach on the floor. I mean, I don't see them taking as big of a step back as some other people do. From a size standpoint, I think is where they're definitely going to hurt a little bit. They could have added, still can add, by the way, a little bit more size. I'm not totally surprised to see Turner go, not only because of what the Bucks really needed up front that they wasn't getting from Lopez, but even more so, I believe it's just the fact that Turner was really kind of frustrated with how so many things went, not just, in the last couple of years, something that's been going on for quite some time. He really wanted a contending team. He ended up getting one, and it's going to be a win situation for him. He has no other choice. That's what Milwaukee has to do.
Final thought from you in the East, and I know there's still room. We don't even know what these teams are going to look like yet when they break camp. There could be a key injury to somebody, Jason Tatum, for example, that changes our entire outlook and the landscape of the Eastern Conference. But if you want to carry over from last year to this year with Cleveland being, the team that leads the way with the number of wins because they had 63 or 64 a year ago, how wide open do you think the East will be this year? Because I didn't see New York getting a lot better. We mentioned Orlando. Indiana, you think, is going to take that proverbial step back. So how wide open do you think that conference is now?
I think the conference got better. It became more wide open because of Boston, obviously. But, where you have a team like Cleveland, between Cleveland and New York, obviously, who I expect to kind of spearhead leading the East, obviously with a defensive player of the year being in that conversation, and everything that, New York brings to the table, they're going to be right back. Maybe they didn't add a lot, but they had a lot, in my opinion. Heck, if anything that they really needed, they did add. Probably the biggest piece was the head coach that they needed, to be honest with you. So, Cleveland is one of those teams that I feel really confident about what they will do in the upcoming season, just based off the fact that they're going to be another really good regular season team. It's just the fact that in the playoffs is where we start having different kinds of conversations. So more wide open after those two, absolutely. I mean, you could probably slot there maybe about, 6 different teams and make a case for all 6 of those different teams to be able to be put differently anywhere between, 3 and 9 to be playing for a play-in spot. So I definitely think it's going to be more wide open, maybe not from the leading the East standpoint, but certainly from the middle. And they're just really closing in on the Western Conference a little bit more. And I get it. Western Conference is amazing and this and that and all that. But I think we're just slowly getting to a point, not saying the East overtaking the West, but the East kind of providing some balance to the NBA between both conferences with some of the acquisitions that they've been making. I still think there's more to come, by the way, as well.
Really good points. Great perspective. As always, we appreciate it. Deshaun Tate, we appreciate the time as always, especially on short notice. Have a great 4th of July weekend with you and your family. All the best to you. Thanks a lot.
You as well. You guys be safe. Blessings and prosperity.
Same. All right. You can follow him on Twitter at Tate's Take Hoops.
Just great stuff.
Yeah.
You talk about a hoop head. Deshaun Tate is as good as it gets.
Yeah, he's a really good dude, and interesting thoughts on the Pistons. That's what I like about having him and other guests on. We don't have to agree with all of them. Okay, there are some things that I would disagree with him, but I love the perspective that he has. And it opens up your mind and opens up the discussion a little bit. Speaking of discussion, let's get to the final results of what we discussed yesterday and the final results of the poll question from yesterday. Besides Tarek Skubal, who would you want to start a game? That was the MitchLyonsWealth.com poll question of the day. Paul Skeens, Max Fried, Chris Sale, Zach Wheeler, what won?
Overwhelming majority, 79% Paul Skeens, 7% Zach Wheeler, 9% Max Fried, 5% Chris Sale.
Okay, we've got another one up there for you that Trent will answer tomorrow morning, which Tiger is most deserving of his All-Star nod. How about the Daily Wager, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort on this Tullymore Thursday? How'd you do yesterday?
Had the Tigers to sweep the doubleheader, so did not go well. I mean, smashing success in the early afternoon.
Close until the 8th yesterday in game.
Yeah.
You were pretty close. All right, what do you got for tonight?
I'll take Riley Green to hit a double. It's almost plus 300, so it's tripling whatever you put down for Riley Green to hit a double.
As many doubles as he has home runs. He'll answer that tomorrow morning with the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort Daily Wager. Trent's going to be on from 6 and 7 tomorrow, and then we've got the best of. Have a great 4th of July. We'll be back with you Monday morning, 6 o'clock here on X's and Bros. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Are you ready to elevate your gaming experience with the Eagle Casino and Sports app? Wager your way anytime, anywhere, at home.